Well, my name's John and I live off-grid in the high desert. And so I run a homestead trying to create some sustainability, and I run a tea business in order to sustain myself financially. First thing in the morning, I get up and feed the animals and whatnot, kind of check out the homestead, make sure things are doing okay. As you can tell, it gets windy and stuff. There's things I got to check up on. And then I check in to see what orders I have for the tea and whatnot. And I might bag up the orders and whatnot. And if I have to run into town to deliver orders, I'll do that. And otherwise, I'm on the homestead working on projects, and it just seems to never stop. I had 8 uncles, and my grandfather owned a body shop, and they were all, working on cars and building things. And so I learned a lot of that kind of stuff just growing up. And ever since I was little, I thought that I wanted to do something like this. So I think I just naturally picked up hobbies and things that kind of correlated. And almost everything I do, I just do it. Instead of, I don't even want to YouTube it first before I do it. I just like to just go. I'm an outdoorsy person. I've been outdoors my whole life. I'm really comfortable with that. And I'm a long ways out here. There's a lot of ways to do it. You could be closer to town and whatnot. But there was a group of guys that came out here a few months after I did, and they were set up. They had generators and RVs and a bunch of manly men, and they gave up after like 2 months. So it's not about being a manly man, I don't think necessarily, but you have to be dedicated. You have to be passionate about this, and so that's probably it. Is if you're passionate about this and you're happy with this, then it'll probably work for you if you put enough effort into it. I guess people do ask, hey, could just anybody get up and go start a homestead? And it's, you could, if you're just on the boundaries of society maybe, and you're still relying on society, but I don't think that everybody's cut out to really try to build something that's actually sustainable. I think we're conditioned. You grow up your entire life and you're like, hey, I go to the corner to get food and water, and if I need a shower, it's right here, and if I need money, I can go to the ATM, and it's a structured setup that's just completely different from the way we're living now. And so, people have been kind of trained to be that way, to live a certain way, and they're used to it. And so I think we've lost a lot of skills that the pioneers had when they came over, and we just don't know. How many people know that you can pickle an egg and it'll last forever? And how do you do it? Probably most of you guys have no idea, And so I think that's why. Pretty wild to think that just a few hundred years ago, people were coming out. There wasn't technology. They didn't have internet. They didn't have phones. You couldn't just Google. Imagine not being able to Google how to milk a cow. Oh, you got a cow. Now how do I milk it? Well, you used to just learn it from somebody. And that's why I think that the blacksmith was a blacksmith, because his father taught him how to do it, and that's the only way you'd know how to blacksmith, and it's just a totally different thing now. It's definitely easier that I can Google how to blacksmith. I think the main thing that I've learned while I was out here is just happiness, and I'm discovering myself and how to be happy. And part of that is just understanding that you've already arrived. So no matter who you are in life, if you're like, hey, I'm already here and I'm already made it, life is good, so just enjoy right now. I think life is way better that way. I don't really foresee much outside of just continuing to do what I do, grow if I grow, and just continue to be happy. I think I'll just grow to be a better and happier person along the way, and that's probably most important. I was a warehouse manager in a large city for a produce company. And I was, like I told you, I've been interested in living off-grid or out here for a long time. And I was already looking for land. I was saving up money. And then COVID hit, and all the restaurants in my city closed. And that was a real bummer because, they didn't need me anymore. How do you pay a guy pretty good money when you don't need to use him anymore? So they laid me off. And that pushed me to say, okay, well, I have a little bit of savings left, because I was working on, I thought my van was there. I was working on, upgrading my van, and so I'd spend some savings, but I had enough that I was like, hey, should I just go do it or not? And I went for it. honestly, the COVID thing was pretty heavy duty when it hit. It was crazy. Like everything was shutting down, you know, like a lot of stores were closing. And so in my mind, I was like, most places are probably not hiring right now. So even though I hurried and put in 20 applications, but I mean, they're all in the same situation. So I certainly couldn't go into the field that I was already making good money in, because I had just got laid off from a place like that, you know, and who knew what was going to happen? Like it was so drastic that I'm thinking like, is this like a huge recession like the Depression? And I was like, man, it just seems like a pretty good idea to just go out there and set up something that can't just fall apart. This is pretty much what I've always wanted to do. So I should fight with everything I have to make sure I can just maintain this. I'm happier than I've ever been, even with just this. I've owned homes and condos and nice vehicles, and I've made a lot of money. I've made really good money, but the more money I made, the more stressed I was, the more poorly the boss treated me, and I just would rather live. I'd rather live mediocre almost, even if, you know, than that. It's fun to make 100 grand, but really most times you're, you know, making that kind of money, you're just working nonstop, and no matter what the boss wants, if it's 2 a.m, you got to be there. And I don't know, I figure you could make 30K and live the way I live, and it's almost like having the 100 grand. You're just as happy. And the truth is, if you set it up right like I have, you don't need to pay a mortgage or a car payment, you know. Even if you make 30K, that's probably closer to 60. I think the hardest part for anyone, I guess, would be the drive and the motivation and dedication to it, and just the confidence in yourself, the efficacy, those kind of things. More than anything, I think, is just, it's mental more than anything. You know, when you drive out of here and it's 50 miles to the nearest town and something goes wrong, well, I got to take care of that. I've had situations like that, you know, you cut your toe really good or something, you got to bandage it up and disinfect it. There's no way you're going into town for that, you know. It could be considered simple, but it could be considered extremely complicated, I guess. It's just, you got to be able to take care of yourself, you know. So if you're lazy in the city, then you probably shouldn't come out here, because it ain't gonna pan out well, you know. If you got like a residual check, you could sit and collect it, but out here, even if I'm sick as a dog, well, I got to come out and feed the animals every day, no matter what. They all need fed and watered, and if something falls over and needs fixed, it needs fixed, period. So there's a certain simplicity. Sometimes it's like, oh, I only had to really work for 4 hours that day. And I think someone else would see that and be like envious. But there's a lot of 16-hour days, you know. I guess I would say that I have made a handful of good friends, and it's just nice to have a few people you could rely on if you have to. Honestly, if I didn't have my tea business, it would have been a lot harder. The fact that the tea business took off and I've got the income, that's a big help for sure. Just having ties to some people, you know, knowing some people where I can get scrap material to build things and things like that. You know, it's funny because when I was a little kid, my grandma went through the Depression, and she would be collecting soda pop cans. She'd go to garbage cans, pull out soda pop cans and collect them, and I'd feel embarrassed. And she had plenty of money. She did not have to do that. But I think maybe seeing that, it got stuck in my mind. She somehow ingrained it in my mind. Like, I thought I'd never be old and frugal like that, I guess, but I've learned that it works well for me to be frugal. So no matter how much money I've made, you know, and I grew up really poor, like myself. I grew up really poor, and I just got used to it, living a certain way, and I guess I like it now. I thrive on it almost. I guess my driving motivation for being out here is just kind of having something that's mine, that's sustainable, that I can, you know, comfortably live the way that I want to live. There's a certain amount of freedom in it, for sure. And also going back to, you know, working for other people, I'm that guy that you don't need to call. I've never showed up late. I always do more than I have to do. And so if you're that guy, you never fully get paid for that. You're actually feeding all these other guys' families because you're carrying all their weight. And so in a situation like this, it's great being that guy, because because I don't have a problem doing 75 different things, and then I get to capitalize completely on it instead of, you know. So if you're working at a company and you're a lazy bum, that works fine for that guy. He gets to collect the check, but there's always that guy that works harder, and it's not always fair, you know, no matter where you work.
Often called the mushroom of the gods, lion's mane has a long history of medicinal use. This popular nootropic has been shown to enhance focus and increase cognition, helping you feel more productive and accomplished. Research studies have also shown that lion's mane is neuroprotective, giving you peace of mind as you power through your day. Try lion's mane and experience the mental clarity and productivity boost you've been missing.
I think the best place to get started for homesteading would be to get land. You know, you want to make sure that you do diligence before you do it. But once you got land, I mean, land's a pretty good investment. For the most part, life out here has been a lot more calm. I got more time to think, and I've learned actually, because I was just telling you how hard I like to work, and I love doing that for myself, but I'm actually learning to slow down a little bit when I work and whatnot. I just find so much more happiness out here. The longer that I'm out here, it's almost daily that the homeostasis I create is just getting better and better. And so actually, I've never felt more at home anywhere than I feel here. And I feel 100% comfortable. And I bet a lot of people wonder that, like, is he uncomfortable? Is it, you know, is he feel like he's roughing it? But I've never been more comfortable. If I need a shower, I take a shower, and I have everything that I need right here. Ultimately, I want to live in peace. I'm a really peaceful person. I just want to mind my own business, do what I have to do, and just grow old and enjoy it. I mean, I think that's what it is before it's like go, 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 and you can never even slow down to enjoy life when you're living in the city, trying to survive with a 9-to-5. I don't want all that. I want to slow down, create something that I can support myself with, and enjoy life, because it's just one time, man. It's like I'm already 37, dude. I got to enjoy this last, you know, half of it or whatever. So people have definitely become dependent on the city, I think, because, you know, you think you can just go in and turn on water, right? And that's fine and dandy, but you know that water is going to be there for the rest of your life. Well, it isn't. That's the problem. If there was a big earthquake or something, almost everybody's water would be gone. And then you'd be there'd be a lot of trouble. You know, what are you gonna do? Most people don't have a well on their land, or, you know, and there's so many regulations that they can't even legally put a well in if they wanted to. It's crazy, because you're dependent on that, and you're dependent for that electricity, and you're dependent to be able to go fill your prescriptions. All that stuff could just be shut off immediately, and then you'd be in trouble. And so that's what sustainability and stuff is about, is, you know, trying to create a situation that's good for you. You know, like, are there maybe some herbs that you could grow and take yourself rather than depend on a pharmaceutical company? Becoming as sustainable as possible creates a certain level of independence for yourself, because if you can just walk over here to the geothermal and grab salad for dinner tonight, and maybe a few days earlier you grabbed a goat and processed some goat meat, you guys have dinner. And I've got enough animals here that I'll never have to buy meat again. That's pretty sustainable, and that means I don't depend on a store. You guys experienced it during COVID when they ran out of meat. Meat was way low. What do? You got no choice. But somebody living this way can say, well, it's no problem, and I'll just go grab an animal. You know, I believe a lot of people do think it's expensive to come out and homestead, mostly because social media. There's, you know, you see people that are like, hey, that'll be fun, and they go out there with 60 grand or $100,000 and they film it, and that makes it look pretty expensive and glamorous. You know, when I was laid off, I had $6,000 to my name. I had a van, a trailer, and then I picked up 2 water tanks, and that's all I came out here with. After a few months, I ran out of money, and I started my business, and the day that I opened my business, I had $100 on a credit card. So I was out of money. I ran $100 in ads, and then my business started bringing in revenue. And so I had absolutely nothing. Like, you just couldn't have much less. And things took off and I'm thriving. That's not a guarantee that it'll work that way for everybody, but it's possible to come out here with nothing, you know? Worst case is you'd be homeless with a piece of land and a van, and you'd have to go get a job or something. I came out here with almost nothing, and pretty quickly I got the food, the water, the shelter in place. And so I'm able to be more comfortable. The absolute bare minimum. I have done nothing that was more than utilitarian. So I just have my needs met. But in under a year, you know, now I have all my food in place. I've got the water in place. I've got the shelter in place. And so the next year, I can only imagine where I'll be a year from now. I don't have any expectations of where I'll be or what it'll grow into. As long as I'm comfortable and supporting myself, I'm good. I'm happy. And so outside of that, you know, my business might grow. Maybe I can help with my business to help sustain other people that want to do this possibly. Things like that. But I just really don't have any expectation of where I'm going to go. I'm really happy right now. You have to be sure you got a way to do your water. So if you don't have a well, you're gonna have to build a rain harvesting system. If you're not close to town, you're gonna need to be able to grow your own fruit and vegetables, and if you eat meat, you're gonna wanna get some animals and start breeding them. Don't just buy a pig like someone in the city buys a pig and processes it and throws it in the fridge and now it's done. It's way more profitable to get a male and a female pig that aren't related, let them breed, raise some of the kids, sell some of the kids, and then grow some of them for meat and continue to breed that male and female over a few years. You know, that's what's important, is getting set up, that homeostasis. A lot of people see that I have a cell phone or that I'm able to print postage off the internet, and they're like, you're not off-grid. But the definition of off-grid, and I go by the actual definition, it's simply not being connected to public electricity. That's the definition. There's no extras to it. That's all it is, man. So if somebody isn't plugged in to public electricity, they're off grid.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy our documentaries as much as we enjoy making them. Unfortunately, many of our videos don't earn enough YouTube revenue to afford the cost of production. But if you like our content, the best thing you can do is directly support it on Patreon. Plus, you'll get access to behind-the-scenes vlogs and commentary. If you're looking for something more in return, go to paragraphic.io, where you can buy our other products and services. Alternatively, you can shop our Amazon storefront for our favorite equipment recommendations. Also, check out Boca, where you can find beneficial supplements to optimize your productivity. We especially love the lion's mane and mushroom gummies. And finally, consider signing up to Multitude, a platform built for long-form content, where you and other content creators can share and monetize new videos every week.